Gentleman yields. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all the witnesses this morning. The automated trucks that we're talking about this morning are way upwards of 80,000 pounds. They're massive, heavy, and not particularly agile machines. So when crashes happen, the risks are immense, especially to the communities that they drive through. As everyone here knows, Chicago is at the heart of our nation's transportation network. In the district I represent, Illinois 4th, is crisscrossed by major truck routes. Every day, huge freight trucks run through bustling neighborhoods, down streets that kids cross for school, and feet away from people's front door. So with that, I'd like to ask my first question to Ms. Chase. It's my understanding that all a vehicle needs to do to comply with existing federal legislation is, one, have basic operating equipment. We're talking about a steering wheel and pedals. And two, report certain incidents to the NHTSA. Am I accurate in saying that is about as much oversight as the federal government would have?
Yes, sir, you are correct. And if I could give an example of what is needed, a standard that is needed. Right now, when a person goes to get a driver's license or a CDL, you have to take a vision test. So with the truck taking over this capability, there's no current requirements that it be able to see and respond to the roadway environment like a human does now. And while my current panelists have great promise, they're speaking about great promise for this technology. We're not there yet, and we don't know. We need the assurance of government regulations to make sure that it can be accomplished safely.
So it seems that those regulations don't address the fact that AV trucks don't just rely on steering wheels or pedals. Instead, they use a set of systems to make sophisticated decisions about the driving environment. Given that, do you think that the same basic measures can be used to adequately regulate automated commercial vehicles?
I think that we need new additional safety standards when we're talking about automated trucks. These are very sophisticated systems, and they can be prone to cybersecurity hacks. They can be prone to multiple disengagements and different problems on the roads. So without the assurance of standards, we don't know how they're going to perform. One company might do a great job, another company not so much, and it's the motoring public that's put in danger if we don't have that security.
So, of course, truck drivers who are noticeably absent from this witness panel so far are the ones with the actual experience and expertise in the cabin. How can regulators ensure that workers have a strong voice in regulating the deployment of new technologies since they are the ones actually using them?
Oh, I think all stakeholders should be involved in this process. In fact, one of the best things that I've done during my tenure at Advocates is I did a ride-along with a truck driver, and I experienced what it was like to be on the road, and it's such a different perspective than a car driver. You're so much higher. There's so many more responsibilities, and that voice is essential to have in the room to share what their experiences are on the roads.
Thank you. I'm trying to squeeze one more question in. This one is for Mr. Farah and Mr. Ermston, if you can be brief. Earlier, I spoke about the huge size of these vehicles and the correspondingly huge risk to nearby communities. But it's not just the size of these trucks that presents a danger, it's what's inside them, too. We've all seen stories of crashes and truck explosions sending toxic fumes high into the air, forcing entire communities to evacuate. Should driverless vehicles ever be used to transport hazardous materials?
Congressman, thank you much for the question. I'll try and be brief here. First, I think that I'd like to follow up for the record with some additional information about requirements that are needed at both at a federal level and state level. This is a highly regulated industry. I think that there's a little bit of context that we need to provide. Second, I'm not aware of companies that are doing placarded hazardous material delivery at this point. Certainly, I understand that that's, again, a very highly regulated space, and would be happy to follow up with you and talk about that further.
And Mr. Ermston?
Yeah, I would say, again, I would characterize the regulatory environment as a little different than as was expressed. I think it's important to understand that the federal motor vehicle safety standards exist and apply to these vehicles, and this is a regulation with hundreds of pages. And there's an ability for the federal government to exert, to remove vehicles from the road if they create their unreasonable risk on the roadway. And so that is in there and is a backstop as needed.
Thank you, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.